Yeah, I mean, he's a really interesting guy. His basically his father left him and his mother when he was 4 years old, and his mom relocated them to St. Louis. And then years went by, and they were pretty much alone. And then when he was 11, and he was in Boy Scouts, David Cameron was his cub master. And they formed a relationship seemingly almost right away. And the actual details of the relationship are very like historically ambiguous, but I think what's important is that David really introduced Lucian to the idea of broadening your experiences and broadening your horizons and what it really means to live, and then introduced Lucian to Bill. So really, Lucian was growing up around the ideology that he ended up preaching to Alan and to Jack and uniting everybody with him. Like he was really, in many ways, his formative years were spent experiencing the same theories that he then put into action in college. Yeah, and then this relationship that also is what kind of brought him to life in his formative years with David is also the one that eventually, when he kind of grew up and became a man, drove him to I don't want to say insanity, but to the brink of really having to get rid of this force that was in his life, because I think he was really done being taught, and he was done having that person looking over him, almost like a father figure, and he was ready to put those things into action himself, and David just wasn't ready to let go of that, and ultimately he ended up killing David because of that, and then colored the murder as an honor slaying, saying that he was being raped in self-defense. That flew in court, and they bought it, and he went to jail for 18 months. And then when he got out of jail, he got a job at a publishing firm and got a wife and got kids and lived a seemingly normal life, although he did still have a relationship with Alan and Jack and all those guys. He did also make it a point to distance himself from it for whatever reason. Yeah, and he lived as a publisher until like the end of his life. Yeah.
Long life.
A long life, yeah. He died in 2005, I think. And yeah, like the original, but he always made it a point to distance himself from all this stuff, to really take himself out of the history of it. Like the original version of Hal is dedicated to Lucian Carr. He had his name removed from all subsequent versions. There's a book, The Hippos Were Boiled in Their Tanks, that he buried the publishing of until post-mortem. It wasn't published until 2008. And the same thing that he had to get out of his life is also the same thing that then really took over his life from once he was out of prison.